Hello everyone, welcome to our channel that takes you on an exciting journey through real-life mysteries and stories solved in the most intriguing ways. If you're a fan of captivating narratives and tales that make you rethink the world around you, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to support us by liking and subscribing so you won't miss any of our new content. We're thrilled to share this special story with you today. The tragic and mysterious case of Phoebe Handsjuk, the girl in the garbage chute. Chapter 1, Inner Struggles, the Roots of Tension. Phoebe Handsjuk grew up in what seemed to be an ideal family. Her parents loved and cared for her, providing her with everything she needed for a stable life. However, this stability hid deep contradictions in her life. Despite the love of her family, Phoebe felt an internal isolation. She couldn't talk openly about her feelings or share the pressures she was facing. She had one close friend, but they didn't know the extent of the internal struggles she was experiencing. Phoebe worked hard to appear fine to everyone, but in reality, she was living a life full of anxiety and depression. She felt like she didn't belong anywhere and was lost in her own world. This worsened over time as her depression became more pronounced. During this period, Phoebe started to rely on sedatives and alcohol as a way to numb her psychological pain. But over time, she realized that these solutions weren't addressing the root cause of her feelings. Instead, they were amplifying the confusion and disorientation in her mind. Chapter 2, The Relationship with Anthony, Love and Complexity. Phoebe's life changed dramatically when she met Anthony Hampel. Anthony was a cheerful and honest young man, and to Phoebe, he was the person who made her feel comfortable and accepted. Through him, Phoebe began to feel that perhaps she could find someone who could fill the void that had been there for so long. As time went on, their relationship became more complex. While it was filled with beautiful moments and emotional connection, Phoebe sometimes felt like she was hiding parts of herself from Anthony. She feared that he would abandon her if he discovered the true depth of her internal struggles. She was afraid that he would see her as weak or incapable, so she tried to conceal the suffering she was living with. Despite Anthony's attempts to understand her situation, Phoebe was silently battling herself. She couldn't bring herself to talk about her depression, fearing it would push him away. He began to notice that Phoebe was changing, but she always tried to act as though she was fine. She smiled, laughed, but behind that smile, her eyes carried many unanswered questions. Chapter 3, Discovering the Medications, Steps Toward the Abyss. At first, Phoebe only took medication when she needed a deep sleep, but gradually she started taking it regularly. She was prescribed Stilnox, Zolpidem, for insomnia, but it caused unexpected side effects. The drug left her in a foggy state, as though her mind was elsewhere. Over time, the effect of the medications intensified as she started mixing them with alcohol. Whenever Phoebe felt anxious or depressed, she turned to this combination of sedatives and alcohol. These substances briefly made her feel calm or less anxious, but that calmness quickly faded, leaving her with a sense of disorientation and loss. At first, Anthony didn't fully realize what Phoebe was going through. He thought she was just having a tough time and that things would get better. But he started to notice strange changes in her behavior. Phoebe seemed more confused, and sometimes she acted in an unbalanced way, as if she wasn't fully aware of what she was doing. Chapter 4: The day before the incident, a strange and disturbing day. December 2nd seemed like an ordinary day for Phoebe, but it would later become a horrifying day in the life of everyone who knew her. Throughout the day, Phoebe exchanged messages with Anthony, and they had some casual conversations. Everything seemed normal, but Phoebe was heading toward the abyss. The effects of the medications and alcohol were becoming more evident, but it was hard for Anthony to notice the full extent of her decline. When Anthony decided to leave the apartment for some errands, Phoebe was left alone. She was surrounded by dark thoughts she couldn't express. Even though she was in a foggy state, her decision to leave the apartment was inexplicable. There was something strange about her behavior at that moment. At some point, Phoebe seemingly decided to leave the apartment and go somewhere, but it wasn't clear whether she was fully aware of what she was doing. She was in a disoriented state due to the effects of the medications and alcohol, which made her behave in a way that seemed odd or unexplainable. Chapter 5: The Incident, the Mystery of Phoebe's Fall. After leaving the apartment, Phoebe ended up in the garbage chute, where the tragic incident occurred. Her fall from the 12th floor was horrific. However, the evidence found at the scene left investigators questioning how this incident happened. Although Phoebe was in an unstable condition, the mystery of what led her to enter the chute raised many questions. Phoebe's smashed phone was found on the ground, and there were signs that she had tried to contact someone. This suggests that she was possibly in a state of shock or confusion, trying to ask for help or reach someone close to her. The investigation revealed that she was under the influence of alcohol and medication, but there was an important question: why didn't Phoebe try to protect herself during the fall? Why were there no signs of attempts to brace herself or slow the fall? These questions made the case even more perplexing. Chapter 6: Investigations, questions about suicide or foul play. As investigations began, several theories arose about the cause of Phoebe's death. Some believed that the incident could have been a suicide due to the psychological state Phoebe was in. However, her family strongly rejected this theory, insisting that Phoebe had plans for her future. The investigation showed that there was no evidence of anyone else being present at the scene, nor were there signs of a struggle or altercation. However, doubts lingered about the incident, especially with the involvement of alcohol and medication. Chapter 7: Phoebe's Legacy, the Quest for Justice. Despite the coroner's report, which labeled the death as a tragic accident, Phoebe's family felt that the case was still unsolved. They believed that there was more evidence that hadn't been fully explored and that something mysterious lay behind her death. They began to push for a deeper investigation, citing doubts about how the incident occurred. Phoebe's case sparked a wide discussion in the community about the effects of psychiatric medications and alcohol on individuals dealing with depression and mental health issues. Her tragic death became a symbol for raising awareness about the dangers of medications and the unseen psychological consequences they may have. Chapter 8: Unanswered Questions. Even after several years, Phoebe Handsjuk's death remains one of Australia's most prominent unsolved cases. Was she the victim of an ill-considered decision in a state of mental turmoil? Was there something more behind her death? The answers remain elusive, and with them, the questions continue to linger. The end of the story. In the end, Phoebe Handsjuk's story remains a tragic reminder of how a life can be lost under circumstances that are difficult to fully explain or understand. Although the official report deemed her death a tragic accident, those who knew and loved her continue to search for answers. Her family wished for further investigations or more clarity about what happened in those final moments. Yet, the questions still persist, and the doubts remain. Phoebe was not just a tragic death, she was a person with dreams and aspirations, and her life grew more complicated with each passing day. Despite everything, her memory remains alive, and her story raises many questions that may never be answered, but its impact on those around her will always be a driving force in the search for the truth, no matter how difficult or elusive it may be.